Lads and ladies, the Royalivi train is coming into the MLS station. Choo choo! But unfortunately, that train is all kinds of fucked up. Now let's set the scene while I pick a few of my MLS teams for the weekend in the background so you can see what I'm dealing with in my account, Sorare, and specifically the MLS. Big hype for the 2025 season. We all love the MLS, and some of us kind of still love Sorare. A match made in the proverbial heavens. Now I went out in the pre-season and splashed some cold hard cash money on some shiny new 2025 MLS cards, as you do. And let me pre-post preface this by saying I spent that cold hard cash money pretty fucking poorly. At Rare, I've got a Philadelphia and St. Louis stack that you're hopefully seeing on the screen with your eyeballs at this current moment transcended in time, as well as a few other cards to maybe get another rare team out here and there. At Limited then, I went for a bit more of a mixed bag, some Inter Miami dotted around in amongst some Nashville, as well as a few other top talents such as Carlos Hill, Christian Arango, and so forth. And all in all of these MLS cards cost me about £2,000 of the King's finest. And you know, it's like, whatever, the money side of things I'm not really too fussed about, but let's still not pretend like that's not a significant outlay on MLS cards. And in comparison to that outlay, the rewards have been very scarce, rare. That one will do. Like, look at this limited lineup in game week 76, almost 400 points, which, as you're probably well aware if you're watching this video, is never enough these days. And that won me 5 essence, and I was still 10 points off of winning $3. You know, that's the state of play right now. And I'm not here to grind into the dirt about the level of rewards being dished out in the MLS competition, blah, blah, blah. We all know they're not fucking great, and we're all probably fucking sick of hearing it. But when Messi alone in that team cost me $200, it's just, it's the rewards, it's just not great. Let's be frank there. I'm not sure who Frank is, but let's be him. Hopefully we can turn that around this weekend, however, in the MLS Hot Streaks competition, where I qualified at limited level thanks to 3 consecutive hot streaks on the bounce. Now, looking at the rules, and we need 2 players with a last 15 average under 50, which none of my goalkeepers qualified for, and naturally I'd rather have my high scoring players be the attackers outfield, who are more likely to push those higher scores up to 100. So I've gone out and purchased a Hugo Lloris card to go in goal for this competition. Now, he has a last 15 average score below 50, and with a favourable fixture against bottom of the league LA Galaxy this weekend, he seemed like the perfect fit. And typically, I don't like going out and buying cards for specific competitions, but this Hot Streaks tournament seems to be quite a rare one due to the fact that every manager that enters will be winning a $10 minimum prize at the limited level. So if there's ever a tournament to gamble on, this is it, as the card will pay for itself, and hopefully we can push higher up the leaderboard to win more cold hard cash money. And with players like Jordi Alba, Carlos Hill and Messi playing outfield, we've certainly got a strong team out. The weak point is definitely Moranchuk, with Atalanta not having a great season so far, but you know, he's still expected to play and he is their focal point behind the front line, and with his score coming in at just under 50, he ensured we met the tournament criteria. So we just have to pray to the Sorare gods that he finally decides to start cooking this weekend, and then we can all have a good time. But for now, let's check out how much money I've won from the MLS up to game week 79. Here we have some lovely Excel goodness. I mean, really, it's kind of a shit spreadsheet, but it is what it is. And here we can see my MLS winnings since the league campaign kicked off in game week 56. To start with, I've not won a single card from Classic, which I think is very telling of how hard that area of the game is to compete in, and perhaps an even bigger indicator of how the value of these current in-season cards will drop massively once the 2025 season starts coming to a close. I've then won $64 cash, as well as a further $59 cash from the Hot Streaks themselves. And that's dollars, by the way, not the King's finest. So all in all, I've got about 100 quid back from my £2,000 outlay, about a third of the way into the season. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's not so good. The essence on top is a nice bonus when that comes to fruition with a card craft. But, you know, in money terms, that's not what we're really looking for, is it? I'll still have these 2025 MLS cards in my account come season end. So if we guesstimate that their value at that point will be 10 to 15% of what I paid for them originally, maybe, if we're lucky, then on average here, I'm going to maybe get 500 quid back for the season from my $2,000. Basically, lads and ladies, we need a fucking miracle in the latter stages of the season to really stand a chance of making that back. And I don't want to fully put this poor return down to, you know, the state of the game or the rewards in the MLS, right? It doesn't help, of course, but let's be fair, this is mostly my fault. I overspent early doors on cards because I wanted to be involved with the new MLS season. That's, you know, how they get you, of course. I think they call that FOMO, which stands for the fear of missing obvious tactics to poorly spend your money. I also didn't really think tactically about any of my purchases. I went with a St. Louis stack at rare level because I accidentally got the backup goalie Ben Lunt from the free promo, so you know, it kind of ended working out with Berkey's injury in that respect, but I had no real reason to think St. Louis was going to be a good idea, which it was not. It was definitely not a good idea. But I also just didn't really take the time to scout or find good deals on the market. You know, myself, I find more enjoyment from making and editing videos, not just on Sorare, but if you follow my channel on other crypto games right now, such as Footium and MFL. So I spend more of my time doing that shit rather than actually playing the game to the best of my abilities. Which of course is bad enough as it is, but especially when you factor in that the best of my abilities would still probably be pretty fucking bad. And I don't want this to sound like moaning as well, right? I mean, I am moaning, obviously, but more so at my misfortune, as well as deriding my actions, which led me to said misfortune. I can't actually sit and moan about the current ROI, because I kind of expected this when I went into the MLS season. I mean, in a dream world, I'd be doing, you know, a bit better than what we're currently looking at, of course, but I really didn't go into this expecting to make my money back and then some on my investment, and that's the thing, right? In this case, we're calling me buying these MLS in-season cards during the preseason as an investment, looking at it purely in monetary terms, which, you know, for me is when the site effectively becomes an in-season gambling fantasy platform at that point. I think others such as Mike of Pompey have expressed this sentiment before. When can we return to the days of playing for fun instead of for cold hard cash money? As I say, I didn't buy all of these MLS players thinking I'd get my money back. I bought them because I really wanted to have fun once more with Sorare. I really did, and I love the MLS. It's my favourite league to watch, and the first league I got involved with on Sorare, and I do still think Sorare is a great fantasy football game, let's not get that twisted, but it's certainly becoming more and more expensive to compete, while at the same time battling to win fewer rewards. So naturally, when that occurs, the cost to fun ratio is going to worsen in that scenario, and that's always going to play a part in enjoyment. You're eventually going to think, I could spend less money for more fun elsewhere, and that will drive people away from the game. And personally, I'm still having fun each week on Sorare, setting my teams and looking at what's going on in the community and such. But, you know, for this MLS setup, for instance, am I having £2,000 of the King's finest worth of fun? You'd have to say the cost factor isn't really there in that regard. I suppose that's a life lesson for when the European cards drop in a few months, and hey, maybe the poor form from my MLS teams will become slightly less poor in the latter parts of the season, and hopefully we can get some of that cold hard cash money flowing back into my veins. And until then, I'll catch you next time, because I love you.